Alright, shalom on you all. May the Most High Jesus Messiah bless all the righteous of Israel that are scattered in the four corners of this world. And also everyone that love the name of the Most High Jesus Messiah. May the Most High Jesus Messiah bless you and keep you in righteousness and truth here. Now, welcome to another episode with your brother Ray here. We're talking about the New Testament versus the Old Testament, part 3. I'm going to talk about in this video about the account of the rich young ruler, right? But before I do that, I want to go in and clarify some things here. We were talking back and forth, me and a brother to me, and I was trying to explain to him when the day starts. And I think it's very important that you as a believer go in and do your own studies, like really go in and do a deep study about these things, because this is a topic that is kind of controversial in the body of the Most High Jesus Messiah and also in Israel as a whole. And it's not something that is surprising, because even in the scriptures it says that the wicked one, he will change days, he will change seasons, feast days and hours and all that, right? And that's what we have today. I mean, we have the Gregorian calendar today, and the way we see how a day is according to what's given to us and the Gregorian calendar and so on, right? But that's not the way it is in the scriptures. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit here, and I'm going to give you some examples. But like I said, this is something that you have to go in and do your own studies between you and the Most High Yah. That you will really go in and do these studies by yourself and try to understand what has gone on. Because if the prophet is saying that the wicked will change days and months and seasons, that means that's a prophecy that has come through. And that's what we have today. Okay? So surely the days have been changed. Months, seasons, feast days, and all that. So with that, let us answer the question, when does a day start? A lot of people will say, well, when the sun goes down, that's when the a new day is starting. And some will say, no, when it's in the middle of night, at 12, midnight, a lot of us will say, well, that's a new day. In the middle of night. So when it comes to that, I know there's a lot of my own people, they say no, when the sun goes down and a new day is starting. Well, that's actually rooted in Babylonian and Talmudic doctrine. That's how the Babylonian used to count their days. So as soon as the sun went down, that's when they say, a new day is starting now, in the middle of the day. A day consists of two portions, where you have light and where you have when it's dark. But it starts with the sunrise. And with that, let's go to the scriptures here and see. We're going to start with Matthew 28 here, verse 1. I'm going to read from the King James Version here. Now it says, in the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to the sepulchre. So it's kind of plain here when they say when the end of the Sabbath is. As it was beginning to dawn toward the first day of the week. What is the first day of the week? It's Sunday. That's actually the first day of the week. It says, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And also, you have to understand, when Joseph of Arimathea is coming and asking of Pontius Pilatus the body of Jesus, he's asking to take down the body of Jesus so he can prepare it and put it in the sepulchre, his own sepulchre actually. And he's going to prepare Jesus and put him in his own sepulchre, right? And you have to understand that when he's doing this, it's still on Friday. So when the sun goes down, the Sabbath hasn't begun. So Joseph of Arimathea is not breaking any commandments here. He's not breaking the Shabbat. He's taking down the body, and it's a process It's actually, if you go, you have to go in. That's why I'm saying it's very important for yourself to go in and study these things. It's a process how they took care of the body and prepared the body with oil and ointments, and they cleaned it, they bathed the body, then they rolled it with linen. So it wasn't like a big cloth that they rolled Jesus and put him in a sepulcher. No, like every limb was rolled into linen. Very, very close to how the Egyptians used to do with their dead. So I'm not saying it's the same way, absolutely not, but it's very similar. So they used to roll every limb, the hands, the body, the legs, and so on. So it wasn't like a big sheet that they rolled Jesus in and put him in the sepulcher. That's not the way they did it. And even that is written in the scriptures. You search it up. So that process takes a long time to do. So if it's the Sabbath, someone would say, well, now he's breaking the commandments here. And people would see him doing it. And they would stone him. They would say, like, this Joseph Arimathea is breaking the Shabbat. They would go and stone him, kill him. But they didn't, because he wasn't breaking the Shabbat. Even if there were some of the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees and also other sects, they held onto these laws and man-made commandments that was rooted in Babylonian literature, what is nowadays we call Talmud. And they say, well, a new day starts when the sun goes down. That's not the way people understood it that in the time of Jesus. Am I saying that there weren't people that used to keep the Talmudic, the Babylonian laws and the doctrines of men? Surely, yeah, absolutely, they were. But they couldn't just by law go and say to Joseph Arimathea, well, you're breaking the Shabbat. Because if they're going to use the law for that, it has to be applied exactly as it is in the law, that someone is breaking the Shabbat. That's the way they could stone him. But no one did. No one went and stoned Joseph of Arimathea. So he's taking down the body. He's getting the body from Pontius Pilatus. He's coming and preparing the body. That's, like I said, it's a long process to wash the body with, and then put ointments on it and all that, clean it, and then roll every limb and then put it in sepulcher. So how many hours that took from when they took him down? He has to go first to Pontius Pilatus, coming back, get the body, go clean the body, wash the body, prepare the body, roll the body with ointments and all that, and then with rolling them with cloth, and then putting it in the sepulcher. That's something like would take hours to do. In the middle of night, he's putting it in the tomb. It's no one that comes up and says, well, Joseph Arimathea is breaking the Shabbat here, we have to stone him. Nothing of that has happened. That's also just one thing that you have to understand. But also here, Matthew 28, it says, in the end of the Sabbath. Okay, end of the Sabbath. So that portion of night was considered to be Sabbath. It says, in the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. Now, let us go to John chapter 20 here, verse 19. It was the first day of the week, and they, at the very evening, while the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them. Peace be with you, he said to them. Now, it's in verse 18, it says, Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, I've seen the Master. And she told them what he had said to her. Now, then it goes on in verse 19, it says, it was the first day of the week. It's still Sunday. And that very evening, the evening of it was nighttime. They were sitting. The disciples were sitting together. They had the doors locked because they were fearing other Jews, right? That they would come and kill them. And in the middle of that, Jesus came and stood among them, and he says, Shalom Aleichem. So peace be with you. Shalom be upon you, right? He said to them. So how could it also be like it's stated the way it is stated. And that very evening, it says it was the first day of the week. That means that was the Sunday, right? Because in the morning, what we read in Matthew, it says the Sabbath was ending. That's what it said. So in Matthew 28, when the Sabbath is ending, that means that night it still belongs to the Sabbath. So as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And then after that, we see in John chapter 20, this is at verse 18, Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, I have seen the Lord, and she told them that what he had said to her. It was the first day of the week, and that very evening, while the disciples were together with the doors locked for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them. Peace be with you, he said to them. So let us go to, like, this is not something that just during that period of time they had that understanding, right? Let us go to what people call the Old Testament, to 1 Samuel chapter 19, verse 11. This is Michal, King David's wife. Okay, it's the daughter of Shaul, King Saul. She's coming in warning David. All right, Michal, his wife, is coming in warning David. And this is how it is stated. Then Saul sent messengers to David's house to watch him and kill him in the morning. Okay, but David's wife Michal warned him, if you do not run for your life tonight, tomorrow you will be dead. Okay, it says, then Shaul sent messengers to David's house to watch him and kill him in the morning. But David's wife Michal warned him, if you do not run for your life tonight, tomorrow you will be dead. Why isn't Michal saying, like, oh, today you will die? If you do not run this night, today you will be dead. But the way it's written, it says, if you do not run for your life tonight, tomorrow you will be dead. And also let us go to the law, right? Let us go to the Exodus chapter 16, verse 23, and it's stated like this. He told them, this is what Master Yah has said. Tomorrow is to be a day of complete rest, a holy Sabbath to Master Yah. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Then set aside whatever remains and keep it until morning. Okay? Because that's in verse 22, it's written like this. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much food. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much food, 2 omers per person, and all the leaders of the congregation came and reported this to Moses. That Moses is telling them. He told them, this is what Master Yah has said. Tomorrow is to be a day of complete rest, a holy Sabbath to Master Yah. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Then set aside whatever remains and keep it until morning. Plain. It's plain here also. Now, it wouldn't be written like that if it wasn't a new day starting in the morning. It's written that way because this is tomorrow. Tomorrow is to be a day of complete rest. A holy Sabbath to Master Yah. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Then set aside whatever remains. Keep it until morning. Now that's on the 6th day. Okay, it says on the 6th day they gathered twice as much food. 2 omers per person. And all the leaders of the congregation came and reported this to Moses. Alright. Now let us go to Leviticus chapter 7 verse 15. The meat of the sacrifice of his peace offering of thanksgiving must be eaten on the day he offers it. None of it may be left until morning. The morning. Okay, so you had a sacrifice of peace, of thanksgiving, right? You have to eat it that day. And even if the sun goes down, you still can eat it. But you cannot keep anything left until morning. Exactly what it says. That's what it says. It doesn't say like you cannot keep anything none of it be left when the sun goes down at evening. Now you have to burn everything at evening. That's not what it says. It's not evening. It says none of it may be left until morning. And I know that a lot of people will argument and say, well, what about the Day of Atonement? Let us go there and clear this matter. Leviticus 23, starting at chapter 23, verse 27. I'm going to start at verse 27. The 10th day of this 7th month is the Day of Atonement. The 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. You shall hold a sacred assembly and humble yourself and present an offering made by fire to Master Yah. On this day you are not to do any work, for it is the Day of Atonement, when atonement is made for you before Master Yah, your Allah. If anyone does not humble himself on this day, he must be cut off from his people. I will destroy from among his people anyone who does any work on this day. You are not to do any work at all. This is a permanent statute for the generations to come wherever you live. It will be a Sabbath of complete rest. Now the Aramaic, it says Shabbat Shabbaton. Shabbat means to take a break. Shabbaton means like complete. It's a complete break. So if even in the speech, if I tell you like Shabbaton, it means like let's take a break. Like for example, we're working somewhere and I use this word and I say, hey guys, Shabbaton. That means like just take a break right now. Just leave all the work and just take a break. All right. So that's what the word is. And it says it will be a Sabbath of complete rest for you. So it's a complete rest, no work at all. And it goes on and says, and you shall humble yourselves from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening. You are to keep your Sabbath. So this is a specific commandment for the Day of Atonement. So it's when is the Day of Atonement? The 10th day. The 10th day, the 7th month, right? That's exactly what it says. And then in verse 32, it gives us the instructions from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening, you ought to keep your Sabbath. Now, if a new day started, sundown, that a lot of people are holding to that doctrine, that is Babylonian and Talmudic doctrine, and they are joining what the Most High has separated. He separated light from darkness. And we have a portion of a day that starts from the morning when it's dawning, right? The sun is rising. It's a new day dawning. That's when a new day starts. So even that portion of the night belongs to the 9th day. Moses wouldn't write this way, the way he's writing. It says from the evening of the 9th day. No, he would just say, like when the 10th day starts at evening, keep it until the 10th day ends to the next evening. But that's not what is written. It says from the evening of the 9th day. So when at the evening, when the sun goes down, that's when we are starting our humbling. Okay, we are humble ourselves, we are fasting till the evening of the 10th day. But it's still the Day of Atonement during that 10th day in the portion of even when it's night till the sunrise of the next day. So it's still Day of Atonement. So we shouldn't do any work. The sun goes down, that portion is still a Sabbath. It's a complete rest. It's a Sabbath of complete rest for us till the sun goes up again. That would be the 11th day. That's when the Day of Atonement ends. Exactly as the Sabbath day is ending. Exactly how every other day is ending. When another new day is starting. When the sun rises. Now, with that, let us go to Genesis here. And you will understand here also why a lot of people have this misconception the way it is written in Genesis. Alright? Let's go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 4. Alright? And it says, And Allah saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. He separated the light from darkness. So when the Most High has separated something, we know that the wicked, what is prophesied, the wicked will change days, change months, feast days, all that. And that's what has been going on. That's why some people in the middle of the night at 12 o'clock, they'll say a new day started. Well, right now, what the Most High has separated, you just joined now. Or when the sun goes down, you say, oh, now then a new day is starting. Again, the same thing. What the Most High has separated, man is joining together here. And let us go in, and I'm going to explain how these words are written in the original language. It says, and Allah saw the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. Allah called the light imama. Now in English it says day. That's how the confusion is coming in. It should be daylight. Allah called the light imama. Imama is that portion of a day where there is light. And then it says, and the darkness He called lele. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. So a lot of people will say, well, okay, but He says there was evening and there was morning. That means that was the first day. So the first day starts with the evening. And then when the morning comes, till the other evening. And that's not what is written here in Genesis. Because there was no light. In verse 3, Allah said, let there be light, and there was light. And Allah saw the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. Allah called the light imama, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening and there was morning, the first yom. Yom or yuma, depending on your dialect you speak. Hebrew, Aramaic, or whatever dialect you speak in Aramaic. You say either yom or yoma. Yoma is a whole day. Imama is that portion where we have light. Lele is that portion where there is night. And let us go to John here, chapter 11. Because a lot of people will say, well, Jesus Messiah said there is 12 hours in a day. Let's look that up also, because that's something, the way it is written in English is not correct either. And it's confusing a lot of people. So let us go to chapter 11, verse 9. They replied, the Jews tried to stone you and you are going back there. Okay, they're saying Rabbi, like teacher. They replied, the Jews just tried to stone you and you are going back there? Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours of daylight? If anyone walks in the daytime, he will not stumble, because he sees by the light of this world. So he separated light and darkness. Now in the Aramaic, the word that is used here is beyuma, like of a day, or with a day. Okay, he says of a day there is 12 hours of daylight, imama. So that's why the word is used, that if anyone walks in daytime, that word is imama. So let us look in the dictionary. What is imama? So imama in the dictionary, it says daytime, the hours during which the sun gives light, the daytime. In Hebrew, it's also the same word, imama. Now in the dictionary there, in the Hebrew dictionary, it's also a little bit confusing there, because they will put in there, they say the whole day. That's what imama is. The whole day is yuma, exactly as what is written in Genesis. It's written that, and there was evening and there was morning, the first day, the first yuma. Okay, so it consists of the dark and the light, but the dark and light is separated. That's why in John he states imama. He says with the day there is 12 hours of light. And if any walks in imama, in the daylight, that's what he's saying. If any walks in the daytime, in the time where there's light, in daylight, he will not stumble, because he sees by the light of this world. Plainly. It's plain. Now, even that word imama, you got actually a name in Job. Let us go to Job 42 here, verse 14. Job 42, verse 14. It says, he named his first daughter Yimama, his second Keziah, and his third Karen Hapuch. Okay, that his first daughter there that he's naming, Yimama, it comes from the root word imama. So Yimama, that Yah is my daylight. That's actually what his daughter's name is. Now, in the Strong Concordance, it says from an unused root, meaning to be hot, a day, as the warm hours, whether literal from sunrise to sun. Now they go on and go on. It says from an unused root. It's not their language. They don't know. They're not understanding this. It says a day as the warm hours, whether literal from sunrise to sunset, and so on, so on. That's what the Strong's Concordance is saying. Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, right? But that her name comes from imama. Now he's putting imama. So that means that Yahweh, Yah is the light of my day. That's his daughter's name. That's exactly what his daughter's name is. So I hope this makes sense. Like I said, you have to go in and study these things by yourself, and you will understand also. Look up the history and all that. I think it's laid upon us that says that we have the faith of the Most High Jesus Messiah, that we should study these things. Like again, I'm going to say, when the Most High has separated, do not let man join those things together. And that's what has happened. So anyways, I hope I answered the question here. If not, tell me. I'm going to try to clarify it even more here, because I could go through more scriptures than this. That's why I'm saying to you, I'm urging you, go in and study. Do your studies in these things. Anyways, praise Yah, hallelujah. Now, I'm going to go through this account where we have the rich young ruler coming to Jesus Messiah. And let us read, I'm going to read all the accounts here, Luke, Matthew, and Mark. And you will understand what Jesus Messiah is talking about here. And I'm going to explain it also. It all has to do with the law of the Most High Jesus Messiah. That's it. That is actually the light. You know, when we have sayings like, people will say, well, what about Paul is saying, for you are all sons of the light and the sons of the day. We do not belong to the night or the darkness. So that's why we're going to keep the Shabbat during the day time, only imama. Well, imama is just that portion where we have the daylight, but Lele is also belonging to that day. So when he says, he doesn't say keep my imama Sabbath. He says keep my days of Sabbath. Days, Yuma. So that means the whole day. Okay, exactly what I explained also when it comes to the law of the Day of Atonement. Moses wouldn't write that the way he wrote it if the day started when the sun went down. He says on the 9th day at evening, from evening to evening. And we know that before what I read in verse 32 in Leviticus 23, it says the Day of Atonement is on the 10th day. But what we are humbling ourselves, when we are humbling, is from evening to evening. From the evening when the sun goes down on the 9th day till sun goes down on the 10th day, but it's still a Shabbat till the sun rise up on the 11th day. It's still the 10th day. It belongs to that. Exactly as why Mary Magdalene, and the way it is written in Matthew and also in John that I read for you, and also why Joseph of Arimathea is not breaking the Shabbat in any way, taking down the body of Jesus Messiah, washing it, preparing it, putting ointments on it, and then rolling it in cloth. Every limb is rolled. All of that process takes a long time. Now only the Most High Jesus Messiah know how long in the night of the 6th day he was going on till he finished it and put the body of Jesus Messiah in his own tomb. Then when the sun rise up, that's when the Sabbath started. That was the 7th day. And when Mary Magdalene and the other Mary is coming, that's when the Sabbath is ending. The dawn of the first day is coming upon them. So the sun was rising on the first day. And then we read also in John, the same day in the evening. They didn't say the next day in the evening. It wasn't Monday. It was still Sunday. And Mary Magdalene came to the apostles and she gave testimony of what Jesus Messiah had told her. Anyways, I'll go back to here to my studies I'm doing here. I'm going to start at Luke chapter 18 here, verse 18 through 23. And one of the leaders asked him and said to him, "Good teacher, what shall I do to inherit life everlasting?" Jesus said to him, "Why do you call me good? There's no one good except a one. That is Allah. You know the commandments: you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony, honor your father and your mother." And he said to him, "I have kept all these things from my childhood." But when Jesus heard these things, he said to him, "You lack one thing. Go sell everything that you have and give to the poor, and you shall have a treasure in heaven, and come after me." But when he heard these things, it grieved him, for he was very rich. Now the way it's written in Aramaic, it's written like come, then he says come after me. So come, it means like not only are you coming after me, but then he says come after me. When you say that in the Aramaic language, that means that not only are you following me, but whatever I do that also. That's why it's written the way it's written in Aramaic. It says, and come after me. Anyways, just so you know. Let us go to Matthew now, chapter 19, starting at verse 16 through 22. And behold, one came and said to him, "Good teacher, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life?" But he said to him, "Why do you call me good? There is none good except the one, Allah. But if you want to enter life, keep the commandments." And he said to him, "Which ones?" Jesus said to him, "You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not testify falsely, and honor your father and mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself." That young man said to him, "I've kept all these from my youth. What more am I lacking?" Jesus said to him, "If you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come after me." But that young man heard this saying, and he went away, whereas sorrowful, because he had many possessions. Now both in Luke and in Matthew here, he's stating the commandments here, but he's not saying do not covet your neighbor. Covet. He's saying that you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now, and that's what he says in Matthew. Now, in Luke, he's not saying anything about covet either. Okay, so he's telling him the things that he's doing, but he's not telling him the thing that he's not doing. Then when ruler is asking, "What am I lacking?" Jesus Messiah is saying, "This thing you lack. Go sell everything that you have and give to the poor." Now let us go to Mark here, to the same account here, Mark chapter 10, starting at verse 17 through 22. "Whereas he was on the way, one came running and fell on his knees and asked him, 'Good teacher, what shall I do that I may inherit eternal life?' Jesus said to him, 'Why do you call me good? There is none good except the one, Allah. You know the commandments: you shall not commit adultery, you shall not kill, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony, you shall not defraud, honor your father and mother.' And he answered and said to him, 'Teacher, I have kept all these things since my childhood.' And Jesus looked upon him and loved him." Now this here, he says defraud. He doesn't say you shall not covet. So again here, he's like in Luke and Matthew, he's not saying you shall not covet, because that's what he's doing. He's coveting. But here he says you shall not defraud. Again, he's not saying do not covet. But then it's stated, and Jesus looked upon him and loved him. Okay, in the commandments we know that it's stated for us that the Most High Yah will show loving commitment to thousands of them that love him and guard his commandments. So here he knows that this young ruler, he guards his commandments, so he's showing loving commitment to him. He's showing grace upon him. And that's when stated, Jesus looked upon him and loved him and said to him, you have one thing lacking. Go and sell that you have, all that you have, and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come after me. But his countenance fell by this saying, and he went sorrowful, because he had many possessions. It was grievous to him. Let us go to Colossians here, chapter 3, starting at verse 5 through 6 here. This is Paul, right? Writing to the Colossians. Therefore put to death your members that are on the earth, lewdness, uncleanness, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. Because of these things the anger of Allah comes on the children of disobedience. Now this word is used for, in the Aramaic language, is used for both material goods, riches, but also used for food, and is also applied to sex, right? The word is covetousness is shawata, being very desirous, eagerness to get, eagerness to possess, greed, greediness, lust, avidity, avarice, cupidity, rapacity, lubricity, licentiousness, lewdness, lustfulness, prurience, horniness, feeling horny, feeling sexual aroused. Now bear with me with my pronunciation, all right? Have mercy upon me. Now that word, when someone is covetousness, that's how we say it. But when a covetous, someone that is covetous, right? Shavatana, okay? Covetous. And like I said, it has to do with material. It can have to do with material goods, riches, but also food and sex. So it's the same there. It's very desirous, excessively eager to get and possess, greedy, etc., etc. And when it comes to food, avid, voracious, greedy, piggish, glutton. And when it comes to sex, it's lustful, lascivious, lecherous, lewd, libidinous, licorice, horny, sexual, aroused. So depending on the context, what the context is, and you use this word, one that reads the whole context, they'll understand, okay, now what he's talking about here, he's talking about someone that is glutton, being lecherous or lewd or lustful, and so on. So, and the same thing goes when it comes to material goods, riches. So someone that is eager to get possessed or greedy and so on. And that's what this young rich ruler was. I know there's a lot of churches, there's a lot of assemblies, cults. They use this text and they want to tell people like, oh, sell everything you have and give to me, give to the pastor, give to the church, and you will inherit everlasting life. If someone is already poor and doing that, and the pastors are going out and saying these things, they're actually going against what the Most High Jesus Messiah is saying. This is an account that is given to someone that is rich, that someone is greedy. Okay, he's keeping the commandments, but he is greedy, and he's not keeping this commandment where he should, that he should give to the poor. Because even in the commandments, in the law, the Most High has said, I will keep the poor forever in Israel to prove you, to see how you're going to be when it comes to the poor. So that's what is also written for us. So just so you know. Now in Luke, Jesus Messiah, let us go to Luke chapter 12, verse 15. Jesus Messiah is saying here, and he said to his disciples, beware of all greed, because the life of man is not in the abundance of riches. Now specifically, this word greedy or greediness, we have a specific word for that in Aramaic. Now you can use that word that I showed you in Colossians when it says covetousness is shawata, but in Luke it's a specific word here that is for greediness, and it's tammakarota, greediness, and it also can be applied to covetousness, avarice, inordinate desire to possess, miserliness, tight-fisted, rapaciousness, to make a gain out of, to use, to derive a benefit from, to benefit from. So like I said, there's a lot of people that are greedy as elders, pastors, teachers, whatever. They have their assemblies, their churches, and they tell their people to give money. Just give money. It doesn't matter if you're poor or rich or whatever, just give money to me. I'm preaching to you, so give money. And they use many other scriptures that actually Paul has been written, and also what Jesus Messiah is saying. And they're going to use that upon the people to even gain out of more from the people, to benefit from them. Okay, that word is also applied to these people, and this is what the Most High Jesus Messiah is saying. He says, beware of all greed, tamakaruta, to make a gain out of, to use someone, right, to derive a benefit from. Now that greed, tamakaruta, comes from the word tamma, specifically just means greed, greediness. It's for material wealth, avarice, excessive desire of gain, greedy, miserly, stingy, tight-fisted, money grabbing, grudging for money, grudging for gain. All right, and that's actually what this young rich ruler was doing. He actually grudged. He was very sorrowful for the possessions he had, for the money he had, right? So, and that's something that he wasn't doing in the commandment. So he kept all the other commandments, but this thing he was lacking. So just so you know, when people are preaching these scriptures for you, and they trying to make you feel guilty to give to the pastor, give to that church, you're struggling in your life economically just to pay your bills, and still, instead of the assembly, the church shall help out the poor, they want to drag out more money. They want to benefit from the poor also. And that's not what the law is. That's not what Jesus Messiah is saying. That's not what Paul is saying either. So I hope this gave you a little bit of encouragement, understanding. Go in and do your own studies. All right. So with that said, I'm going to end this video with going to Psalms 147, starting at verse 19 through 20. He declares his word to Jacob, his commandments and his judgments to Israel. He has not done so for all the nations, and his commandments he has not made known to them. Hallelujah. Now, may the Most High Jesus Messiah bless all the righteous of Israel that are scattered in the four corners of this world, and also everyone that loved the name of the Most High Jesus Messiah. May the Most High Jesus Messiah give you understanding, grace, and mercy, so you go from knowledge to knowledge, understanding to understanding, from holiness to holiness, in the name of Jesus. And with that said, Shalom.